I'm going to do an outdoor review today of an MRE, and this one is actually, it's kind of special for reasons I'll get into in a few moments. What we're going to be looking at today is menu number 5, Chicken Chunks White Cooked from 2016. This is by the Warner Company. And I do have to give a little bit of an introduction on this menu, basically so I can explain why this is such a special setting for it. The Chicken Chunks White Cooked, also known as diced chicken, was introduced in 2015, so this is only the second year that it was in production. And this menu number 5 actually replaced the Mediterranean chicken, also known as the chicken with tomatoes and feta. This is my first time having this menu, and when I first saw that this one had come out and it had replaced the Mediterranean chicken, I was kind of surprised because Mediterranean chicken was one of the, I guess you would say, the strongest flavored MREs I've ever had. Sometimes MRE entrees can be criticized for being on the bland side, and that's kind of by design, as strange as it sounds, because they don't want to make anything that's too spicy, basically because it has to appeal to a whole range of different tastes. People who enjoy spicy stuff and people who don't enjoy spicy stuff. And the same thing goes for really strong flavors. The chicken with tomatoes and feta was definitely one of the strongest entrees I've ever had, and I actually liked it, but a lot of people didn't. It was very polarizing. You either really liked it or you really, really disliked it. So I can kind of understand why they replaced it, but they replaced it with something as boring sounding as chicken chunks. That was a bit of a surprise to me. Especially since I hadn't had one of these, it really seemed like one of the most boring MREs you could really imagine. But it turns out there is something else inside of this which makes it more interesting. Oh, and I should also mention too that menu 5, before it was Mediterranean chicken, it was chicken breast, which is basically the same thing, except instead of being in chunks, it was a formed chicken fillet, basically, a chicken patty. So I mentioned that there is something that makes this more interesting than just plain old white chicken chunks. And to explain that, I have to talk about another menu, menu number 24. The Mediterranean chicken was one of the strongest entrees I've ever had, but menu number 24, buffalo chicken, was probably the spiciest MRE I'd ever had. It certainly doesn't compare to real buffalo chicken wings, but for an MRE entree, it was quite spicy, without even having to add any hot sauce. So the buffalo chicken entree was introduced in 2009, and that only lasted for 3 years. It was discontinued after 2011. So I think that had something to do with the fact that they really wanted to keep with, I don't want to say bland, but they wanted to keep with the more safe choices and not have something quite that spicy in there. Which brings us to why this setting that we're in is so special. Not only are we outside, but we're actually about 20 miles south of Buffalo, New York. And obviously Buffalo, New York is where buffalo chicken wings come from. And in fact, we've actually been to the Anchor Bar in Buffalo, where the buffalo wings were supposedly invented. And one final thing, I don't know if you can hear the water flowing near me, but I'm actually right next to a river, or a creek, and it just happens to be the Buffalo Creek. So that might not seem like it has much to do with chicken chunks, but why don't we go ahead and open this up and see why this setting is so special for this MRE. As I said, this is from the Warner Company, and like some Warner ones, or maybe all of them, this doesn't have a date code on the outside bag. But I've got this with 4 other ones from the same source, and they've all been from 2016, so I'm guessing that this is going to be 2016 too. It has to be 2015 or 2016 because the menu number 5 was switched to chicken chunks in 2015. So we'll go to open it up and we can figure out exactly when it is from. And we can see what's in here. Here we have chicken white chunks, the date code of 6165. So this entree pouch was packaged on the 165th day of 2016. So it is a 2016 MRE. Oh, I don't have a heater sleeve for this, that's interesting. But we do have the information card here. This has the ingredients and also the nutrition facts. We also have, oh, this is actually a great touch. We have 2 packages of plain tortillas. That is really good. I've seen a lot of things that come with tortillas that you're supposed to make a sandwich out of, or a taco or whatever. They only come with 1 thing of tortillas, and it only gives you 2 tortillas, which really isn't enough. So that's great. We have a lemon lime beverage base powder, and some cheese spread. The 2015 one came with jalapeno cheese spread. This one just is the plain. We have an apple cinnamon flavor First Strike Nutritious Energy Bar. They go down out of 6162. We have some peanut M&Ms celebrating 75 years. Let's see, these obviously this is commercial packaging, so it doesn't have a standard date code. And actually this information on the back is kind of worn off somehow, but it is Best by something in 2017. So since we still are in 2017, that's okay, not a problem. We have the standard MRE spoon, the accessory pack. It's like accessory pack B. This has chewing gum, salt, toilet paper, moist towelette, and another drink. This has a raspberry beverage base powder. Interestingly enough, I thought this one would come with coffee. I'm reviewing this at about 9 o'clock in the morning, so I was thinking of it as being more of a breakfast one, but we do have 2 fruit-flavored beverage base powders. That leaves us with one final item, which is this white package. A little bit different coloring from most of the retort pouches, but this is buffalo-style hot sauce. So this white chicken chunks menu, although it replaced the Mediterranean chicken, I think it's also a replacement for the buffalo chicken. And that's actually a nice touch because somebody who doesn't want it spicy can just have them plain. Somebody who does can add the sauce to it. Which is why it's so interesting that we're doing this about 20 miles outside of Buffalo. It turns out it's a little bit on the light side for a couple of reasons. It has a few less components than you expect in some of the MREs. And the entree in this one, the chicken chunks, is only 5 ounces instead of the standard 8 ounces that you would expect in most MRE entrees. But you do get the extra tortillas, which is a nice touch. And the only other things missing in this are a hot beverage bag, which I was hoping to use, especially having the 2 beverages, and also a flameless ration heater. So this is going to be one that will be prepared and eaten cold, which obviously is nice to be able to heat things up, but at the same time, if you're on the run, if you don't really have time, sometimes it's not convenient. And this one does seem like one, kind of like the tuna one, that wouldn't be too bad eating it cold. So let's go ahead and try this out. Alright, and this should go a little bit quicker than some of these do, since we don't have to heat anything up. Let's start off with the tortillas. Nothing too special about that, except for the fact that you get the 2 packages. And we don't have any way to heat these up, so they may be a little bit split in the middle. It won't be too bad, maybe because they're newer. They're from 2016, so haven't been sitting in there all that long. They actually look pretty solid. Yeah, that can smell good. And we have our First Strike bar. Apple cinnamon. It smells really good. And our peanut M&Ms. Which look just fine. No cracks or anything. The cheese spread. I'm going to go ahead and put this on one of the tortillas. The nice thing about having the 2 packages of tortillas is you can have one package that you can use for the cheese spread, or you can just use them all for the chicken chunks, make little sandwiches out of them, put the cheese spread right directly on that, which we're also going to try. But just to showcase, as it were, the cheese spread for the review, we will put a little bit on one of the tortillas. we'll make up our beverages. Unfortunately, since we don't have a hot beverage bag, I don't have any way to measure the amount. The lemon lime beverage is supposed to take 12 ounces of water in this big pouch, and then in this little one here, this is supposed to be for 20 ounces. I don't think I have anything that's going to fit 20 ounces, but at least this cup is a little bit bigger, so I'll put the raspberry one in there. I was also hoping to have a hot beverage bag so I could show you the color of these. They're not really going to show up so much in these cups. So these might be a little bit on the strong side, but that's okay. I don't mind that. It's probably pretty close. Neither of these are electrolyte powders, so probably going to take a little bit longer to stir, and not stir quite as nicely. It won't mix quite as nicely. You can see there's a lot of sediment in there. It seems like when you let these sit for a while, it kind of goes away. And the raspberry. I guess I should have just cut the top off of this since it's not going into a bottle of water. And I can smell the raspberry smell coming off of that. It's really pretty pleasant. Lemon lime one is a standard MRE drink from way back when, and I like it, but it's nothing exciting about it. But the raspberry is kind of a newer flavor. It's nice to have something different. That just leaves us with our chicken chunks. 5 ounces of chicken chunks. It's going to have some of the juices in it, I think. Wow, this is, other than being chunks, it looks a lot like the tuna. And even though it's chicken, it actually smells a lot like the tuna. I guess it's kind of like the, they say tuna is the chicken of the sea. So I'm going to let the juices go in there too. But here's your 5 ounces of chicken chunks. And you know, actually let me siphon off some of this juice that's in here. Actually tastes pretty good. And then finally we have our buffalo style hot sauce. I do want to be able to taste the chicken by itself, so I'll just put it on half of the chicken for right now. Alright, and here is our chicken chunks white cooked. Basically everything you're getting in this meal. Let's go ahead and try it out. Here's the chicken chunks themselves. It seems to be good chicken. It's not the most exciting thing, especially it's cold. It's just plain old chicken. Doesn't seem to be too overly processed. There's definitely some processing going on in there, but it's not too bad. It's definitely one of the more natural seeming ingredient lists. Chicken white meat, water, and just a few other things. Not really too much in there at all. Which is a pretty good thing. Let's try it with the buffalo sauce. It should make things a bit more interesting. Yep, that's a spicy sauce. It's kind of lives up to the name. Tastes like buffalo flavor, buffalo wing flavor. Nothing that's going to scald your tongue or anything, but it definitely has some kick to it. I'm going to try some of this cheese spread as it is on the tortilla. And your standard plain cheese spread. It's got that very salty taste to it. Seems a little unnatural, but basically like a can of easy cheese. And it's fine. Since we have so many tortillas, we have the luxury of being able to do a few different things with these. And let's have some of this buffalo chicken. And the tortilla. And we'll add a little cheese spread to that too. Cheese spread is, it's good. You're used to having it on crackers or wheat snack bread for the most part. So it's a little bit different having it on a tortilla. And also, you don't have a chance to heat this up, which is kind of unfortunate. But let's give that a try. Yep, that's not bad at all. The plain chicken on its own is pretty boring, but having it on a tortilla with the buffalo sauce and some of the cheese spread, it's not bad at all. Wash it down with some lemon lime beverage here. Very familiar Kool-Aid sort of a taste. I'll try the first strike bar. It's pretty firm because it's a chilly morning out here, but it's definitely a pliable little thing here. I get the apple cinnamon smell coming off it pretty nicely. And I think it's going to have some of those little crispies in it. No, it's very good. Standard energy bar kind of consistency. The little crispies in it add a nice texture, and the apple and the cinnamon both come through really nice. I think we know what to expect from peanut M&Ms, and I'm not expecting to be disappointed by these, since they're relatively fresh. And those are perfectly fine. This whole meal does seem kind of geared more towards something you can eat on the go, and the snacks definitely go along with that. First strike ration bar, something you can obviously put in your pocket and just eat it as you're walking. Same thing with the M&Ms. And even the entree, you can just eat that right out of the pouch if you need to. You can throw some of the buffalo sauce right in there, some of the cheese spread, and even the cheese spread, you can put it on the tortilla, like I did here. And some pretty easy drinks, which you can either have with you. It may not be so convenient on the run, but you can always save them for later and just have plain water. So I guess the only other thing to say is that if you didn't want the spice of the buffalo sauce and the chicken was a little bit bland for you, you can put some of the salt on. But I don't think it's that bad. It is funny how much it is like the tuna, especially since it's packed in water. I guess that's everything there is to eat in here. Just have some of this raspberry beverage. Which is good. That raspberry flavor, it's obviously, not too surprisingly, it's a bit on the artificial side as far as taste, but the raspberry does come through. And like I said before, especially having both these together, the lemon lime is such a long-standing drink that's been around forever. It's nice to have something a little bit different, the raspberry one. It's not bad at all. So that was a look at an MRE, menu number 5, Chicken Chunks White Cooked from 2016. And as one final little thing here, I'm going to get a second opinion on this one from somebody who has lived in the Buffalo area all of his life. Just want to see what he thinks of this buffalo chicken meal. Alright, so we have a special guest reviewer helping out here. This is our cousin Nathan from Buffalo, a native Buffalonian. And that's probably not the right word, is it?
It is the right word,
is it?
yes.
Okay. And I couldn't think of anyone more perfect to try out Buffalo-style hot sauce. So, Nathan, you want to try this chicken? I don't know if you want to try. If you want to try a chunk of it plain, just to see what it's like.
I'd be happy
to do that.
Sure. Let's see, just plain. This is plain chicken.
Yep. It's just chicken chunks, white cooked. That's all it says.
Well, surprisingly moist and flavorful, actually. I'm really excited to try that buffalo sauce with it.
You definitely should do that.
I'll try
We
some
should
of
do
that?
that next. Yeah.
Okay.
I can even put a little bit more on if you want, because it's
Let's
a little
see.
more in the
We
pouch.
like them. We like it hot in buffalo, our wings. So this is maybe similar to the buffalo wings. Let's try it. Oh yeah. There's definitely a little bite to it, a little spicy, hot kind of bite, and surprisingly, if I try to imagine going to like a famous buffalo wings restaurant, there's some similarity in the flavor. Exactly. I mean, not exactly, but it's pretty close, actually. Surprisingly.
Yeah. I thought they did a
it's
pretty
good.
good job, and it's not. Yeah, it's definitely not exact, but something that's packaged and can be put on a shelf for 5 years and eaten. It's not a bad imitation, I guess I'd say.
I agree. I would eat this in the field for sure.
Great. And actually, I should mention too that Nathan, in addition to being from Buffalo, he's also a lot healthier than I am. He's
I don't know about that.
well, he eats a lot better than I do, and takes a lot better care of his body than I do. And I did want to actually show him the ingredients for what he's eating. I probably should have shown him before. It's kind of a mean trick to say eat this and then show you what's in it.
I'm okay with that.
But here is a look at the ingredients for this. If you want to just kind
Interesting.
of see what you think of that.
Chicken chunks, white cooked. Yeah, I'm impressed with how few ingredients there are. Just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 ingredients. Yes, that's pretty good. Now, I wouldn't eat isolated soy protein. That's a highly processed, genetically modified form of soy, non-fermented, that I wouldn't consume. But if I were in a survival situation, I wouldn't complain and I would eat it because it does taste good. And it is very high in protein. I noticed 31 grams for the pouch, which is very, very high. So considering a situation where you might be in need of good fuel, I would eat it. Typically on a daily basis, I wouldn't eat isolated soy protein or sodium phosphate, which is the last ingredient. Granted, it's only 2% of the actual ingredients, isolated soy protein, salt, and sodium phosphate. It's still something I wouldn't typically consume because we try to consume whole foods that are not processed, but I understand this has to be processed and have the longevity on its side.
Yeah. And I was definitely impressed with the number of ingredients. But of course, this is just the chicken. So of course, we do have to talk about the sauce itself, which is on there, which obviously changes the ingredients if you're eating both together. So here's the buffalo style sauce.
Okay, when I look at the ingredients, I'm actually quite impressed. It seems similar to ingredients we have in some of our hot sauce that we use to make wings here in Buffalo. And the hot peppers, the cayenne peppers, it really comes through in the flavor. And of course there are the sodium benzoate and xanthan gum, and which act as preservatives, which I don't typically eat, but in a survival situation I wouldn't complain. It's high in sodium, but I mean that's necessary too if you're out in the field, you're sweating, you're hiking, you're in the battlefield. So this is something I would consume myself occasionally if I were to go out for wings or what have you in Buffalo. It's like I said, the ingredients are very similar, so I'm impressed with that.
Great. All right. Well, thank you for your different take on it. And do you want to try anything else here? I mean, we tried the mains. Do you want to try the first strike bar?
I'd love to try that first strike bar. It's an energy bar.
Yeah.
Should I just grab?
Take this here because I've eaten up for this one, so that's.
Thank you. Let's see. We make our own energy bars in our own kitchen, and we're really picky with the ingredients and what we consume. But let's take a nibble of this energy bar. See what we think. Wow. Nice and sweet. I really taste the oats. Maybe a little cinnamon.
Yeah, if you want, you can go ahead and check out the actual ingredients. And yeah, I thought the apple and the cinnamon come through pretty good.
Oh, definitely. So if we look at the ingredients here, all right. Well, corn syrup is not something I would consume typically. Corn's genetically modified, and the syrup is super sweet. That's why it tastes so good. It's 47 grams of carbs, which you would need if you're in a survival situation. I see protein's quite low. I'm surprised, only 3 grams. But when I look at the ingredients, it's a lot of sugar. We have the corn syrup, then we have the fruit base, fructose and glucose. I see all that. That's the fruit base is very high in sugar as well. Okay, I see that there is whey protein in it, but there's only 3 grams of protein, which makes sense because the main dish, the main course of chicken, had so much protein. So I'm guessing they're trying to balance out the carbs, protein, and everything. And total fat 7 grams, so that's pretty good too. You're getting some fat in that. There's a paragraph of ingredients in this energy bar. I try to avoid foods with paragraphs of ingredients. But again, if I were in need of food and fuel, I would consume this. So thank you, and it was delicious.
All right. Well, I really appreciate hearing that different take on it. And I understand what you're saying about the paragraph ingredients. And this one just happens to be one of the few. I think this one and tuna are probably the only ones that really do have a really small list of ingredients. But thank you very much for trying this out and giving us your opinion, both as a Buffalonian and as a healthy person.
You're very welcome.
Appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
No problem. And thank you for watching.